And this part is going to talk about, and I don't know, I think most of the people watching right now are familiar with Bomber, being me, my Super League, right? Bomber's Super League. If I was, besides Josh Pate, if he turned the job down, it's me coming up with the new format for what would be a competition for the Division One, current Division One football championship, not an NCAA championship. The football championship that's part of the college football playoff. Okay, well, I'll tell you, it's pretty simple. I'll run through it. Please leave your comments and questions. I will go into as many details as I can. Obviously, super chats and new member comments I always read first. All right, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to make it big because you don't have to see my ugly face. All right, there at the top. See that? Wow, I'm so good with PowerPoint. Bombers Imaginary Super League. Actually, give me 1 second. I apologize. Uh, uh, my Supra. Okay, so somebody might ask, um, what is Super League? Why isn't it Super League? And I'll tell you why. Um, Super League is a construct, right? It's something that somebody builds and is put together sort of in a box form. Okay. So let me put myself back up here in a box form. So you settle it, you build this Super League, and it just comes with whatever additions you put into it originally. 48 teams, 32 teams, 900 teams, doesn't really matter. A Super League is a construct that's got a form around it. Okay. Like the Super Bowl is not just a bowl game, it's the Super Bowl, right? So it's very specific. Super League is extra to a format like that. Why is it extra? What is the difference between the two? A Super League means you create the rules and rely on the competitors to become to basically earn their way into the thing. And how they would do that, I have a bunch of ideas. I'll run through what I've got here. There could be more. I'm hoping that a Supra League wouldn't be just a P2. I'm hoping a Super League would more put in. These are the requirements. This is the minimum you have to do to qualify for being in the Super League. And then there might be other measurements and statistics you use to join. So I'll quickly run through these. I think everybody can see them. Um, all SEC and Big Ten schools immediately included. So Supra League includes all the SEC and Big Ten schools. The number would be anywhere from 40 to 70 schools will be included. That's the range. I don't think you have a Super League smaller than 40, probably closer to 48, and 72 is a stretch, but it is possible. I put that range in there because this is where we're going to get to the qualification part of it. Money currently allocated to SEC and Big Ten does not change. They don't lose a dime. So if you're Minnesota, you're Wisconsin, or you're Vanderbilt, the money you're currently getting in your media contracts is not affected by this. Whatever you're getting on your media deal, you work out with your carrier, let's say ESPN, they'll give you whatever they're supposed to by contract. One idea inside of that is private equity could be used to make up the difference for other schools. What that means is if you're on the lower end, say your team's 71, but you can barely qualify without really breaking your finances, private equity is one of many options you could use to get that qualification number up to be included in the Super League. Total payout is dictated by and for each school independently, meaning when you win, you get more money. If you don't win, you don't get a lot of money. That's why this is different from the regular media deals. Completely different from the other media deals. This is just for a top tier Division 1A, not Division 1, Division 1A, the very first one of college football, and how you could get in that league. Okay. Everybody that's in the A4 is going to stay in the A4. Everybody that's in the G6 is going to stay in the G6 unless they're able to move into these other conferences for, say, basketball or they're able to move in other conferences for money, like SMU. I'm not ruling any of that out because I don't care about your conferences. This is conference agnostic. If you do not qualify for the final 16 slots in the championship, so yes, you read that right. I have a 16-team playoff at the very end. You do not get a participation bonus. In other words, you're not going to get a bonus because bonuses go to conferences, and this isn't a conference. Now, they could come up with minimum participation. You get private equity to build a SUPRA league. You're probably going to have finance to give everybody that participates money. And a good analog for that is the Premier League in England. If you qualify first, you have to qualify. If you're willing to spend, I think it's $100 million or more on your roster. No. That's a different number. I don't know what the minimum is for your roster size. It might be 40 or 50 million. I'll try to find that out. I'll make a note and I'll try to find that out. But regardless, to qualify for the Premier League, you have to meet certain participation criteria and then certain money. They don't want somebody coming in that has no money because you can't compete and you'll embarrass the league, and they don't want that. Other schools wanting to participate must meet minimum criteria, facilities, revenue sharing, minimum levels of NIL participation. So I hope that's clear. There are the qualification, minimum criteria, those things I just discussed, the minimum qualifications for the Premier League, they have to be met or you do not qualify. And you would not be included in the SUPRA League. Okay. Let me see here. Playoff format really quick. 16 teams, first round, all home games. No buys, seeded 1 to 16 based off poll or whatever the ranking is. No reseeding, no auto bids. Prize pool money to be shared either with the schools themselves or their host conference. And I believe right now the host conference gets that money. I believe Bob Thompson told me that. If I have that wrong, somebody correct me. But Bob told me that most of that, normally that money is shared. Now the team that earned it does usually get a bonus on top of that, but the money goes to the conference, which is why we talk about Notre Dame so much, because how much money Notre Dame has, they earned like $48 million by getting to the final or semifinal in the CFP. Insane money, and they don't have to share it with anybody, which is why, as part of any new league, any new realignment, in some way, shape, or form, Notre Dame needs to become to heel. If they don't, then they wouldn't be able to participate in the playoff. Now, in a Super League idea, Notre Dame would be in because they're not in a conference. They don't have to be in a conference to be in the Super League. Okay. Let's see. Do I have one more slide? I can't remember. Governance, and this is the rules-based stuff that backs up everything that would be in operation. It's an A4 world. The A4 is taking over the legislation, is taking over the all the measurements, all the criteria to participate. All that is required and going to be controlled by the A4. Rules enforced by a new A4 commission, czar or whatever. That's where Josh Pate wants to sign up. One more time, the Super League composition. Big Ten and SEC in. Other A4 which want to participate meet the minimum criteria. Any other school which meets the criteria, assuming there's a spot to be included. 64 teams probably does not include a G6. That's me surmising, because 72 does include some, which is great, but I would rather have that G6 qualification be expanded to, again, if you meet certain criteria, and as long as you're not locked out by the powers that be, then you should be able to get in. I don't know what that looks like. It would have to be something we talk about. And this is another Nathan Bomber Brown idea that nobody loves, but I think there is some sort of romance to it. And that would be relegation could be included. It's not required. It's just an idea. But if we include relegation, relegation could include anywhere between 4 and 8 schools each season. The first season, there would be no relegated teams because haven't competed. After the third regular running of the season in the SUPRA League, at that point, then you start relegating schools that just can't keep up. They want to stay in because they're going to get more money, but it's really impossible for them to compete because they just don't have what it takes to be included. Okay, so a relegation would be something fun, but there are so many barriers to relegation. Scheduling, how would you deal with promoted and demoted teams? Is it even possible to do a model like that in a Supra League that's 48 to 72 teams? I don't know. It's more romance than anything, but I think there's something to it. So that's Bombers Super League. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I have this crystal vision. House settlement does get approved. They grandfather in the roster limits. The A4 puts out their governance. The CFP settles the 2025, then the 2026 ongoing CFP structure. And then from that, we will start to hear different things. We will hear the A4 staying the A4, but the P2 are really driving the bus no matter what. Or we'll hear that they've had big money come in and say, we'll put a Supra League together for you, and we're going to run it and own it, and we will pay you to participate. And that's going to be in the many, many billions of dollars if somebody could pull that off. If I was a billionaire right now, I wouldn't buy an NFL team. I would do whatever I could to build a league like this because I will be a trillionaire if I do it. Absolutely perfect idea. I one last time want to define the difference. Super League is a canned product. You're either in or you're not in, and it really has nothing to do with your stats or anything else. It'll probably be based on brand. And brand value, my brand value is going to be different than your brand value. It's just the way it is. So how do you do that, right? If you do something like this, you put out minimum requirements. You say these are the schools that we think could be included. And then when we start the thing, at that point, we'll make those picks. 72 is brilliant because you get G6 schools in. I believe that's necessary, if not vital, to success to include G6 schools. And then you have all the A4 doing everything they can to fight for what they want, which is a lot. It's a lot to work in. So I'm going to leave these up. And I know, like I told you guys, I haven't been able to flag comments. I apologize for that. But I am going to go through this and I'll read questions. And you guys be very clear if you have a question or comment about the Supra League. I will try to answer them as best I can. I get to do that because I'm the commissioner. Nobody else did this. I thought this up in a fever dream one night. It's not the same as Super League, and it's not like the Rudy program, which is basically Notre Dame trying to buy its autonomy by building another Super League. So, all right, that's my editorials. I'll be off of that. I hope I covered that clearly. We're going to cut this out. Moan's going to cut it into 2 pieces this show. This one will just be about the Supra League. And I hope it matters to you because it matters to us. And I'm very passionate about it. All right. Really quick, let me bring me up so we're 45 minutes in. I probably got another 20 minutes or so. I'm going to call for it one more time. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. 200 people watching on X and on YouTube. If you're on X, do me a big favor. Just go to the College Football Mafia Network page and hit subscribe. The reason I share I could just make this a members only video, but I don't like to do that. And from a business standpoint, that's how you make stuff work. I'm more about sharing the wealth with everybody else. So if you're watching on X, do me a favor, leave a live comment. I read those during the show. And then at the end, it really helps us with our subscriptions. We're trying to get to 45,000 subs by the end of the summer. All right. Lots to talk. So follow me on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, turn on those notifications. Okay. Let's get to comments and questions. And I'm going to work. I'm sorry, guys. I got to work backwards because I don't think I've seen a super chat. So I'm going to go backwards and try to answer as many of these questions as I can. Let me bring this back up so people can see. Okay. If you have a question about Super League and there's a slide you want me to go to look at and reference, just let me know which slide that is. Benjamin Hawks, welcome to the channel. I'm not sure I recognize you, but certainly if I haven't seen you before, you're welcome now. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's free. Give us a thumbs up. Follow me on Twitter and get involved. I bring guests on all the time that were viewers. So if you're one of those people and you're watching on Twitter, you want to get involved with this show, you think you have a lot of good takes to talk about, I've done shows with a bunch of different types of people, and I love meeting more. So don't hesitate to do that. Benjamin says, no one cares about the group of leagues. Few care about most ACC or Big 12 either. It will do fine with 40 to 50 schools. That's a pretty common comment, Benjamin. I hear it. Being one of the ones that is represented in the Big 12, I have a question for you. Do you see BYU as one of those top brands? You'd have to have more than just the SEC and Big 10. You're going to have extra slots. Is BYU one of those slots in your mind? And who is your school? Tell me your school too. But thanks for being here, Benjamin. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Bob Swanger says, no, sorry, grabbed the wrong one. To Town Hawk, Boise State, Wazoo, Oregon State. I love all three of those schools. Have all had games that have done comparable numbers at one point or another due to different circumstances. Heisman player, Leach Mania, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody knows I'm a fan of all three of those schools. Washington State being my home state, just an hour from my home, actually, an hour and a half. Oregon State, because they're in Pac-12, the original Pac-10, which is what I care about more. And then Boise State, who has been playing above their heads for 25 years. So I'm a huge fan of Boise State. I don't know. I hope so. I hope they get picked. I really do. Let's see here. I'm not sure what this is. Benjamin says it's not enough, and closer analysis demonstrates the only circumstances are nothing else is on at the same time slot. We've been dealing with multiple time slots for years now. I don't think that's going to be something that is going to hold things up. Make sure you tell me what school you represent there, Benjamin. And I asked you that question about BYU's perception. I'd like to hear that from a third party if you have the second to do that. Troll Grindy Cheat Clapper says, I'd be fine if the 4 top teams in each conference played 2 separate games and the winner of each goes to the CFP and cut the number of teams and games, some in a CFP. I know exactly what you're saying, Troll Grinding. I will say this. I love the semifinal games for all the conferences. I've loved it since I first heard it. And I can't remember where I've heard it. It was like 3 years ago. Somebody said it as an option. And I think it's a brilliant idea. I think all the conferences should do it. But I don't think you need to reserve any CFP slots. The schools that are going to get those are going to get those anyway. And you're going to have more of a feel, like the Big 12 was a perfect example, right? You have 3 teams that all were number 1 in the conference. And if you have a semifinal, how amazing would BYU, Iowa State, and Colorado, Arizona State have been, or swap those around? That would have been mad numbers for that championship game. I think, yeah, that's got to be in the big picture. Has to be. Let's see here. Call me David. Let's see. Call me David says, if all colleges are not included in the future of college football will not excel long term. So let me ask you a question like this, call me David. Do you believe, and I'm not going to knock any school, these are just examples because people know who they are. Do you believe Ball State and Ohio State should be competing for the same championship? This isn't basketball now, right? Where you get many, many games to sort out a season. They've only got 12 games. For some people, 13. I don't see in a reasonable world where that's really as it should be. In my opinion, once you get the number on the SUPRA league, the next tier down, then that Division 1B, whoever those schools are, they should be competing for their own championship. Now, during the season, I think you should have games across. Keep rivalries going, meet expectations within state legislatures. My kid goes here. I want his school to be included in a game at least against Ohio State, for instance. So I think that those games can still be played across like they are now with FBS and FCS, but they don't count towards whatever, let's call it a 9 or 10 game season in a SUPRA league. They can work on top of each other. Good question, though. Call me David. Let's see. Sorry, I'm working backward, everybody. Good comments from Town Hawk, Benjamin Hawks. Carly, you guys are doing a great job today. Devil Frog, the OG of OGs of Mafia members. He and I started this thing way back. No relegation. That's just another way to ensure the Blue Bloods always stay on top. Devil Frog, is that true if the relegation is for teams 68, 69, or 69, 70, 71, and 72? I don't think Blue Bloods, there's only what, 12 Blue Bloods? I can't remember. I haven't looked at the list in a while, and I don't agree with all of them. But I don't see how they affect it at all. The Blue Bloods are going to be there either way. But I don't know if Manu was almost relegated. Yeah, they almost did. Great comments, you guys. Let's see here. Antoine Johnson. Again, thank you for being a member of the Mafia family, Antoine. Once ACC is cracked, which I believe will happen, the big SEC and Big 12 should pool their media rights together NFL style. Interesting idea. I think the Big 10 and the SEC might do that, but not sure the Big 12 would be included. That is the question, right? In my opinion, and I've been saying this for a very, very, very long time, in my opinion, the conferences that will be alive in 2 years playing big-time college football will be the Big 10, the SEC, and the Big 12, and they will all be between 20 and 24 teams. Clip it, post it, make fun of me when I'm wrong, but that's what I think we're going to end up with. Let's see here. BYU football, Shonsky checking in. There are only 8 Blue Bloods. Yeah, I'm not really getting into that because I think Miami's a blue blood and other people don't. So whatever. P2 just needs to expand up to 48 teams and then break away. That's the ideal Super League. Hope it includes Utah. But even if not, that's the ideal Tier 1 language or league for college football moving forward. I know you and I just disagree about this one, Steele. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think there's more emotion tied to college football than anything else. And those schools that they're not doing bad viewership numbers because they're bad schools. They might be doing bad viewership numbers because of the time slots they're in. And why is that? The time slots for the Big Ten and the SEC dominate the airwaves. The ACC, which is ESPN, you'd think they would get air. They're not. They're trying to kill the ACC essentially. And the Big 12, who had to subdivide its broadcasting rights to really bring in schools to be at 16. I just disagree. I don't think a super league. It's just too. Super league requires conference realignment. or at least teams moving between conferences. And a SUPRA league is conference agnostic. Doesn't matter what conference you're in. And I need to add this as a note on my PowerPoint. What does this do if you do SUPRA league and football is its own thing? I speak for BYU. BYU's in the Big 12. BYU's Olympic sports are massive. We're like in the Executive Cup every year in the top 10 continually. Big deal, Olympic sports. But now football and basketball are back where they honestly were in the 80s, to be honest. Not any better than they were in the 80s. In the 80s, they were a superpower. Anyway, regardless, I think if you have a brand like BYU, you're going to want it for the brand. You're going to want it for the viewers, millions and millions of kept viewers. And a Super League means you don't change basketball conferences. You don't change your Olympic sports. And what does that mean? Let's go a couple more steps down the road. If that was actually the case, Super League for football, Olympic sports basketball are in a conference. Now all of a sudden you can have conferences doing games regionally. You don't have to have so many in-conference games across the United States. You could have games stay in their region and play just basketball instead of trying to work around a football-centered conference. Anyway, that's my idea. Steele, it's great to see you. Thank you so much. MBM, where you been, brother? I missed you. Good to see you. A valuable member of the Mafia family. Plenty of teams in the Big Ten that will never win a championship. Super League idea is ridiculous. I love it. Thank you so much, MBM. I appreciate your comment very, very much. Chris G, another valuable member of the Mafia family. Thanks for a sane approach that would try to include most of the country. To cut out most of the ACC and Big 12 will affect TV ratings. That's certainly a thought. I don't know if it would or wouldn't, but I know that the passion level would drop, and all the other leagues, while people will watch them, the Super League will just eat up the viewership for everybody else. So thanks, Chris. It's good to see you. Let's see. BYU football. Shonsky says anybody that has the money to compete should be allowed in. I'm kind of with you there. I think money's going to be a big part of it. And in my opinion, the way you do that is you say, we're going to require you contribute this much in NIL and this much in revenue sharing, along with meeting all these other entrance requirements to qualify for a Super League. I mean, and there's going to be schools that are going to be stretched. You know, there are going to be A4 schools that are going to be stretched. I'm not going to name them, but everybody knows who they are. They're going to be stretched. They're going to be stretched now to compete, if they're even competing. Anyway, gosh, you guys are so smart. Thank you so much for being here tonight. All right, let me scroll down more here. Let's see. Oops, what did I just do? Okay. MBM follows that up by saying, Ben, you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Saying Big 12 fans are less passionate. We are similar. We are a smaller alumni basis. That's why our ratings are lower than the Big 10 SEC. That's one of the reasons, MBM. I just said another reason is the viewership windows that we're in are not very good. Normally, we're up against massive matchups in the Big 10 and the SEC. If we just put the ACC on a back burner because most of their games are on ESPN Plus. So I don't know, but I know this: BYU as a brand itself, the world's starting to see now what we've been doing for 50 years under the covers. Anyway, but MBM's right. I would argue Big 12 fans are even more passionate than some in the SEC and the Big 10. Anyway, let's see here. I like this one. Benjamin Hawks. I mean, Notre Dame is non-P2 team, and they made it to the final. They're a P2 team, Benjamin. They're their own. They're P2+1. They get voting rights like a conference. They're treated in the CFP like an entire conference, and they don't have to share any of the revenue they get from their basketball or football. Well, basketball is part of the ACC, sorry, but football, they get to keep all their own, which is it's just crazy. Unfair advantage. You can't even. Notre Dame hasn't won a championship since '88, almost 40 years. But you could also say in the same breath that they've been competitive, well, not dominant. They've been competitive the last 20 years, and they're way past the half line for being a contributor to a Big Ten or SEC than the other half of those conferences. So Notre Dame's not going away. Their brand is too big. They will be grandfathered in at some point. Let's see here. Daniel Gygax, good to see you, Daniel. At Call Me David, and the cart in real life split was filled by NASCAR boom. He's talking about NASCAR growing. The cart IRL, just so everybody knows, that's the Indy 500 cart, and when that broke up, it ruined kart racing. Absolutely wrecked this sport, and it has never recovered. That's why Formula One is booming right now, because they've got it going on. Let's see here. Benjamin Hawks, just look at all the scores at the end. Maybe read a few play-by-plays, watch highlights. It's enough. Not sure what we were talking about there. Let's see. You guys are so active tonight. Let's go here. Troll grinding cheek clapper. Notre Dame is a Subway alumni, has its Subway alumni across the country, and BYU has its minivan alumni across the country. You got it, brother. Although minivans are now being bypassed by big trucks. Big trucks have now become the thing, especially in Utah. Vans are Honda Odysseys are like required driving, right? But yeah, trucks are starting to take over for getting people's families around. Let's see here. What time is it? So we've kind of gone over. I appreciate all the questions we've had tonight. And I would just say this is a moving target, right? Lots to talk about here in the future. At the end of the day, where we're going to be is somewhere in between, I think. It's going to be creative. It's going to be a connected entity that is going to require everybody to meet certain criteria, and then it's going to hit the most people possible they can watch. Those are going to be, they have to be required or it won't work. One way to do it would be private equity comes in, does the whole thing. Like ESPN's doing the whole thing now. Somebody bigger comes in and buys it and does the whole thing and reorganizes under one more effort. I think that'll happen. One more comment, and then we're going to get out of here. To Town Hawk, way more passionate. I have more than 10 years of season tickets. I have sat through more terrible than most intelligence services would allow due to being defined as a war crime. We love ball. That is true. I can speak for myself. All of us real love and passionate about college sports in general. And I'm glad to be here to share it with you guys. So I encourage everybody one last time, make sure you follow me on Twitter, subscribe to this channel on YouTube. If you're watching on X, jump over to College Football Mafia Network on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and you'll be notified. If everybody turns on their notifications, you'll be notified when our tweets go out, and also when new shows are going to be broadcast, or when new member videos or regular videos are posted to the library. Those notifications go out as well. So make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications on YouTube and Twitter, and just be one of the guys. The College Football Mafia family is growing. I encourage you to get involved on Twitter if you're watching now for the first time, or on YouTube. Leave a comment or question and do all that you need to do. Invite everybody to, one last time, become a member of the College Football Mafia family. Just hit the join button in the middle of the main page on YouTube. Walk you through it, and we will give you a song and dance the next time we see you. So other than that, I want to say thank you so much for showing up on a mid-afternoon show on a Friday. I am going to be doing more of these, not necessarily at this time, but more interactions during the day because I have the time, frankly. We will go and make that better as we get through. But right now, personally, the shows I'm going to be doing here are headlining news items. We started and led with the House settlement. We finished with my SUPRA League idea, and there's just going to be more and more and more now that I settled on Bombers Blitz as the logo. So I thank everybody for being here tonight. We'll see you in 2 hours at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on this channel, College Football Mafia Network, and our Big Freaking Friday show with Moen and Wild Ute. And we're going to be talking the dreaded what happens ACC schools and what are the Big 12, SEC, and the Big 10 doing to sort of prepare for an eventual breakup of the ACC in some form, if that happens at all. So Nathan Bomber Brown here for you. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you in a couple hours on the Big Freaking Friday show on the College Football Mafia Network. I appreciate you. If you're watching on Twitter, jump over to YouTube, do me a favor, and subscribe. Appreciate all of you. College Football Mafia is where we want to be, and I hope we're doing everything we can to meet your needs. Show ideas, DM me on Twitter. I'll chase down an idea if you got one. And also chase me down on Twitter if you want to do a show with me. I've got one next week with, I can't remember. Who is it? Oh, it was, I was spacing that. There is a show I'm doing next week on valuations, I believe. Anyways, that'll come out next week. I'll post it. Everybody have a great night, and we will talk to you soon.